when you got dogs that know their role, is doing all the little things that don't show up on the stat sheet. That's being a dog. And when I say dog, I don't want to get misconstrued. People think that means like just being aggressive and fouling and doing stupid stuff. That's not being a dog. It's being mentally prepared in situations. It's knowing your position in certain spots when you're guarding certain players. It's knowing your game plan and following it. It's actually being smart. And whenever you look at series, you can go down the line. For every championship team, they had those type of guys that just did everything that nobody else could do the best. And I think that always makes the difference.
Hi, PJ. I had a question for you. I think it was a couple weeks ago you said, talking about, what dogs bring to the team. And you said they bring energy, they bring, I guess, aggression, stuff that you don't see on the stat sheet. For you, through your years in playing in the league and I guess overseas as well, what kind of difference does it make when you have players like that and when you don't have players like that?
It is the difference, I think. I think every team, especially at this level, once you get this far, everybody has the star. There's the star power, the guys that do what they do every night, and you're gonna get that in every series, every team. They got those guys. I think the difference is when you got dogs that know their role. And when I say dog, I don't want to get misconstrued. People think that means like just being aggressive and fouling and doing stupid stuff. That's not being a dog. It's being mentally prepared in situations. It's knowing your position in certain spots when you're guarding certain players. It's knowing your game plan and following it. It's doing all the little things that don't show up on the stat sheet. That's being a dog. It's actually being smart. And whenever you look at series, you can go down the line. For every championship team, they had those type of guys that just did everything that nobody else could do the best. And I think that always makes the difference.
And for you, is it one player that can kind of change a team like that, or do you need multiple guys like that?
No, some teams have multiple, some have one or two. Each team is different and they're all particular in their own ways, but some guys may have another role, but end up, adapting and becoming that because that's what they needed for that series. Because each series is so different. So it's just your team and figuring out, what y'all need to win every single night.
Thank you.
Eric Name.
I'm gonna apologize for this being a cliched question already, but like Chris and Giannis are the OGs in Milwaukee, right? Like they've been here forever. They've been here for 8 years together. Is there something about like their partnership or kind of like how they work together that maybe you didn't know before you got here that now you're like, oh, okay, like that's why it kind of works between them?
Not really. They both, because they're both so laid back and chill. Like you wouldn't know they were here if you didn't know they were here. Like Chris just goes about his way and does what he does, and Chris ain't gonna say a lot. He gonna do what he do, and that's it. And then Giannis the same way. Giannis come in, do his work, ain't gonna talk a whole lot. He just does his thing. So I think that way, yeah. They make it pretty easy on each other because they're both so chill, laid back, and they just both want to win. Which I already knew that. So it's not nothing that I didn't know already. Right. They're just really good players that, are mild-tempered. They, are super into the game and locked in all the time, but they just, they're not big talkers and, that kind of way.
Obviously everyone keeps wanting to talk to you about dogs, but like, did that maybe surprise you that they are as intense and like competitive as they are? Like, maybe not Giannis, but maybe Chris, like that he is kind of that way and just like kind of a killer in those moments?
No, I've guarded Chris a lot, his time in the league. Since he's got in the league, I've guarded Chris a ton. We literally just talking about the game winner he hit me in Phoenix. You remember that? And he's still bragging on that. But Chris has been like that for a long time. He's never been a big talker. We're at USA together, and we got to know each other more. So that's what made it a little more interesting because we had a relationship prior. So, but no, it's not a surprise.
Appreciate it.
Malika Andrews.
Hey, PJ, if Eric is admitting to cliche questions, then I will too. I'm wondering if you could just look ahead or even, I guess, partly reflect and look ahead on what it's going to be like to face James Harden in the playoffs after being his running mate for so long.
I haven't even thought about that. Like, that hasn't even really crossed my mind. Honestly, we've been so locked in as a team of what we're going to do. No matter who we play, we're going to stick to what we do. And, James has been my teammate. But before that, I guarded James a ton before, and we had some epic battles of going at it. So, it's basketball's a fraternity. We've all played each other, been on each other's teams, competing. But when it comes down to it, we all want to win, and all that stuff goes out the window for that 48 minutes that we out there on that floor.
And then secondly, the Nets have been a team that have openly admitted that they may be testing the logic that you need to be a top 10 defense to go on to win a championship. I'm wondering how that ratchets up the importance of this team's defense, which has been such a backbone for you all.
That's something that, I think people talk about a lot, especially pre-game, like going into series, and they kind of harp on that. But I think in the moment, in these situations where teams have to step up and win, you may not have been a top 10 defense, but, right now we're a little more locked in. It's the playoffs. The money's on the line. Teams that weren't that great defensively throughout the season may become good defensive teams in the playoffs, and that happens. That happened on one of our Houston teams, actually. So that's something that you just never know. We just got to go out there and play. We're going to stick to what we do and being good at what we are. And hopefully that carries over from regular season to first round of playoffs to now in the semifinals.
Thank you.
Jim Ozarski. Jim, you're still on mute.
Sorry about that, PJ. With Brooke said, obviously the intent is to play good defense, to make it tough. However, you guys had the number one offense in basketball, scoring-wise, pace, put up the most shots. Is it possible that your offense is a little underrated going into this as a squad?
Honestly, we don't really even talk much about the offense being number one. Like, it's so, when we score so well, so easily, I think guys know it, that focuses on defense, because if we get stops, then, we feel like we're unstoppable, and that's that feeling. You get that feeling. You get stops, and you're making them take tough shots. And, even if they're making them, but you're making them work and take those kind of shots, and they have to make those shots for 48 minutes, it's a little bit tougher. And that's something that, we relish on and really want to compete and get after people defensively, because offensively, sticking to our guns, taking the shots that we want to take, executing every single time, kind of just better on ourselves that way.
Thank you.
Brian Mahoney, the AP.
You've guarded kind of every position in the league, and guys on both these teams are so explosive. Can either of these teams really be stopped in this series?
We're gonna see. It's one of those things. You go out to play. Everybody does all, like I said, everybody talks before. And, this guy's averaging what he's doing. You never know till the ball gets rolled out and guys get after it. It's not regular season. It's the playoffs, and people stepping their games up. It's going to be tough. They got three of the best scorers of all time on their team. They're going to score a bunch of points. We know that. But we just got to make it as tough as possible. We got to make them work, earn every single point, nothing easy. And whatever happens, happens. But, we're going to go out and battle and compete and, blood, sweat, and tears, leave it all on the floor.
A bunch of months ago, after James came here, or before the trade even, people were saying, the guy they really should get is you. Did you see an opportunity? Did you hear any of that? And how maybe a guy like you could have played a role in Brooklyn?
There's a lot of talk. End of the day, Milwaukee wanted me. They expressed that, and they made it happen. So this was the option that presented itself that made the most sense for me, and it seemed like a really good fit, and was. So that's all that really mattered at the end of the day. Honestly, I can't. That's it.
David Aldridge.
Hey, PJ. Wanted to know how a team can grow from defeat in a playoff series, because there's so much intensity involved and you put so much into it. And if you wind up coming up short, how do you get past that to compete again at that level the next year?
That's a really good question, Dave. That fire, having that really winner mentality, that championship attitude, knowing what happened the previous year, how you lost, and what you need to do to get better as a team. Whether that be through trades and draft picks, whatever it is, being able to arrange a team to be able to fit it and tweak it in certain ways, but also the experience, going through those experiences, knowing, we lost like this, we lost like that. It's interesting coming here after they lost to Miami last year, the focus they had against Miami. I was focused and I was ready, and I'm just getting going. But Giannis was still about last year. He couldn't. It was like, this is it. Like, we right out the gate, and it's something that I seen just from not even being from watching that series to seeing how they were locked in for that series is they've taken a step. Like, we're not going to do what we did last year. You know what I'm saying? And that in itself for me made me even try to step my game up more, because it's like I love like that competitive spirit of saying, we gonna do this. Last year ain't happening. That's out. Let's go. And that winner mentality. So I think that's the only way you do it.
And how do you kind of self-critique yourself after a season's over and go, I was good at this, but I need to be better at this if we're going to take that next step?
Yeah, that's something on the player. Guys, every year, no matter who you are, I think even whoever wins MVP or the guys that score all the points, like whoever everybody feels like they need to get better every single year. If you're not, then you're getting worse. So every year you take that summer, you kind of look at your season, what you did, what you want to get better at, the way your team's going, what they need from you. And trying to up your game every single year. And that's something you have to challenge yourself as a player, as a professional, to want to be great and be able to give something to a team.
Darius Joshua.
Hey, PJ, I was going to ask about James as well. You were here for those last two matchups where Brooklyn came to Milwaukee with the Bucks. How different does James kind of make them? Everyone obviously knows how well he can score, but just how different and challenging does he make it when all three of them are out there?
You talking about somebody that can literally almost do everything on the floor. With that being said, he's also one of the smartest players I've probably ever played with. He knows how to pick teams apart. You see how he's facilitating more. He's not trying to go out and get 60s anymore, like kind of in Houston where he would do that and pass and rebound. And get still, like he's just all over the place and making all the plays. Now with the other two guys on the team, the way he's kind of picking people apart by picking and choosing when to score, when to pass, making plays, doing everything else. So he's doing what he always does, just critiquing his team, feeling like what he can do to make everybody better, but also, how to take his game to the next level. So, and that's something that, it's hard to guard for everybody. Nobody, it takes a team. The different guys have to match up and, do some different things on him, but, he's a great player.
All right, time for one more to David in Italy.
Hey, PJ, looking at the series and the matchup with the Nets, what do you think is your advantage to win this series?
Our advantage?
Yeah.
If I would say our advantage would probably be our depth. We can throw so many different guys at every single player on the team. We can switch matchups, from game 1 to game 2 to game 3. We could do so many different things. When you look at our 9-ish guys that we play, we can switch up between the lineups, the way we're playing, our defenses. We can switch up, like literally our team, our makeup of our team could change with a sub or two. So I think that's been our advantage. I think that's going to continue to be our advantage. We have a lot of really smart guys on our team that know how to play and being able to guard and play different positions. So, with all that, with the big guy.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, PJ.
All right.
How do you think the Bucks kind of like team defense has helped you as a defender? I know that was like kind of like a question for you coming in, like, how well can you defend? And I'm sure you've heard that your whole life, but like for you, what was it kind of like to get to play with them defensively and kind of take in their culture on that end?
I think it's been good for me. I've been challenged to defend a lot of times, and I think that's good for me. And I want that challenge. I want to be challenged on that end. I want a coach that's gonna put me in positions to see what I can do. So for me, I enjoy it, and with a bunch of other great defenders around me, it makes the game a lot easier.
And then I guess for you, the Nets are very good at running a bunch of actions, getting in isolation, and then just kind of trying to work. How excited are you for that challenge? Like to cover, who knows, one-on-one, like they're going to try to attack everybody.
No, very, very, man. I want to show, I want to show what I can do. whether it's defensively, offensively. You know, I want to show what I can do. So, you know, I think all of us are prepared right now. I think we're all ready to go and can't wait till we play.
Zora Stevenson.
Hey, Bryn, lately your teammates have kind of talked about you as like the resident comedian on the team and just kind of like a funny personality that's starting to get out. One, do you see yourself that way? And then two, why do you think it's important to bring some lightheartedness, not just off the court when you're, you know, going about your lives, but maybe in a huddle or to the side?
Nah, I would just say, I think I just enjoy myself. I try and enjoy myself and have fun, you know, every time I'm in here and, you know, whatever I'm doing. But, you know, I enjoy them. I enjoy my teammates. We laugh a lot. We have a good time. So.
It doesn't surprise you? You kind of smirked when I said that. So does it make sense?
Yeah,
that way?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Thanks, Bryn.
Lori Nickel.
So sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
I wanted to ask you 3 quick questions about your shot. Number one, is it just natural to you? Like some guys just sort of have that natural touch, or did you work on that like obsessively as a kid or in high school or college?
I think it was a little bit of both. You know, I was always naturally, it was a gift I had. I was always naturally pretty good at it, and I picked it up easy, but I've worked ridiculously hard, spent a lot of hours trying to perfect my craft. So, I mean, it's both, but I put in a whole lot of time too. So,
Did you put in the time conventionally just in a gym, or were you always shooting trash in a recycling bin or laying on your back and shooting, you know, the ball for the perfect arc or whatever, like any odd stuff?
I don't think there's anything odd. I mean, you know, whether I was at a park or wherever I was always shooting every day. So, no, it's been something I've wanted to perfect since a young age. So, yeah.
Last thing I wanted to ask you, Mike Budenholzer said you had great footwork. And to me, we can see that you're light on your feet and, you know, you get square and everything. But is there anything leading up to your shot that he's talking about that you think of that gives you exceptional footwork to make you such a good shooter?
I think probably just always being prepared to shoot. You know, I think that's where the footwork comes in. And, you know, when you know the ball's coming your way, to be able to get your feet down and right where you need them quickly, you know, and be prepared for your shot before it touches your hand. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Darius Joshua.
You know, when we were talking to Giannis kind of during the regular season, seeding and all that sort of stuff, he said it didn't matter because you have to beat the best, obviously, to be the best, that kind of thing. Going into the series, is that kind of just the mindset of the team? It's really just excited about the challenge of going through a team that, you know, everybody's got 3 All-NBA calibers on their team and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, personally, I don't think I would want it any other way. You know, if we're really the best, I want to prove that to ourselves and to everyone else, you know, playing against the best. And I think, you know, I'm happy this is our route.
There you go. Got the unmute there. When you think about how well you all played in the Heat series, defensively, offensively, and in different ways, how do you carry that over into this series against a completely different opponent?
Yeah, I think is what we're facing with them is a lot different than what we face with Miami. You know, the way they play is a lot different. It's a lot more, you know, isolation with, you know, their big 3. So, you know, I mean, the way we're going to approach it is, you know, the game plan might be a little different, but the same mindset, man, to attack and on the defensive end and, you know, do what we do on the offensive end.
David Aldridge.
Hey, Brent, I wanted to ask you something about your rookie year in San Antonio and that team. And, you know, you guys, y'all were rolling going into that conference final. And then all of a sudden Kawhi lands on Zaza's foot and everything changes. And I wonder how hard it was to kind of get past that individually and as a team, knowing if Kawhi doesn't get hurt, we may win this thing. We may get back to the finals. We may get another chip.
I would say it was exactly when it happened, it was a little deflating. I think we were up by 25 in that first game 1 against Golden State, and then that ends up happening and we lose by 25. So, you know, after you know, you blow a 25-point lead and end up losing by, you know, a 50-point swing without him, it was a little bit deflating, to be honest with you. but Kawhi's a great player. One of the best defenders I've ever played with, and a great offensive player as well. So, yeah, I think the season might have been a little different if he had not landed on his foot.
And I wonder the reason I was asking that is because I just wonder how teams, when you get to a high level, when you're competing for a championship, and you wind up for whatever reason not winning, how difficult it is to kind of get past that and move on and try to grow and get better.
I think for me, that was my rookie season, so.
Yeah.
For me, I was just kind of absorbing everything. I wasn't playing much, so I was just sitting there and watching and absorbing from guys like Manu and Tony and Kawhi and all those guys. I played with a lot of talented players and great players. So for me, it wasn't as like heartbreaking as it was like learning experience.
Gotcha.
All right, one more to Christos in Greece.
Hey, Bryn, hope you're doing well. What will going to be the most challenging part of that series for you against the Nets, and how important is the game one of that series? How important is to setting the tone from that game?
No, I think game one's extremely important. Like you said, setting the tempo. You always want to gain some type of momentum going through the playoffs and in a series. But they a great offensive team. They've got some great players and great scorers. So the defense, just having to be super locked in on the defensive end and bring the intensity and focus. I think that's going to be the main objective and the focus of this series.
And also, if you look back in the series against the Heat, what would you like to carry on as a team in the series against the Nets?
I think what I just said. The defensive focus, intensity. We were really dialed in on the defensive end, and that was the main focus that whole series against Miami. I think, honestly, the offense will take care of itself. But when we come out and we're defensively focused and defensive minded, I think we're a tough team to beat.
Great, thank you, Bryn.
Yep, no problem.
Hey, Pat, looking at the series, what do you think is your advantage here with the Nets?
I think for us it's about having gone through some adversity so far this year, having fought through some tough battles and having come out on the other side. But I would say it's the togetherness and the team chemistry that we've formed, through that time and playing together both offensively and defensively. And obviously they're a phenomenal team. They're a great team, and we're going to have to make sure that our defense is, at as high of a level as it's been in order to, come out on top.
Eric, name?
What's up, Pat? I would say this Nets team is one of the better teams at the league in hunting. Like they hunt mismatches. They try to find certain guys in ISO spots. Just for you as a defender, how exciting is it knowing that, hey, maybe at one point it's going to be me. Like maybe they're going to be hunting me, and I'm going to get a chance to kind of show them, like, hey, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, that chip on the shoulder is something I've always kind of had, I don't know exactly how you want to phrase it, but I may not meet the eye test when it comes to a great defender. So trying to be a little more, show off my athleticism a little more, which is something I've always had to do in order to not be stereotyped as just a shooter, and just be ready to be tough, be physical where you can be. Obviously, you want to be careful how physical you are because they thrive at getting to the free throw line, but we also play a great team defense. So knowing what my job is and whether it's on the ball against some of their guys, or whether it's as a help defender or a V-back or a scramble mode, whatever that might be, just trying to make it as tough on them as possible.
I was going to ask you about rear contests. Both Harden and Irving are good at kind of like stopping, and if you come over the top, they'll just like kind of stick their butt out into you and get 2 free throws. How do you kind of control for the aggressiveness, knowing that, hey, this is part of the scheme, like I need to get these rear contests in, but also not getting yourself in foul trouble?
Yeah, you just got to be extra, cautious of how you're doing it. With James, he's great, especially as a lefty, of, that step back that he has, when he finishes, his left arm kind of flails a little, his leg kind of flails a little. So, you got to be hypersensitive of how much you're contesting and, where your hand and feet are. And then, with Kyrie, same thing. But you want to make sure you're using your size to an advantage. You're not jumping at the pump fakes when you are going over the top of screens. Pending which direction is going will, for me, at least kind of dictate how hard you're trying to go to contest. You know, righties, you're able to get it a little bit more when they're going to their left, and lefties a little bit more when they're going to their right. But you want to just try to make sure you're making it as tough as you can on them. And sometimes that's not even trying to block the shot. Sometimes it's just making sure that they know you're there. And if they're going to try to stick their butt back to get a foul, if you're not going to be in a position to foul, you're bothering them enough as it is.
Malika Andrews.
Hey, Pat. PJ, and you just talked about kind of the trials you faced this season and how that's helped to shape you. I'm just wondering holistically if the trials of the last couple of seasons have built you all any differently for this year.
Yeah, I'd say experience. I mean, everyone likes to talk about experience when it comes to the playoffs. And, I think there are some things that we've learned over the last few years. You can never be comfortable. And 2 years ago, we were up 2-0 in Toronto, and we ended up losing that series in the Eastern Conference Finals. Last year, we came out flat in Game 1 versus Orlando, and they beat us. And then, we weren't as fortunate against Miami in the bubble. So I think we've learned from that quite a bit. I think this is a new team. We got new guys. We got new components to it. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but they have their own playoff experiences as well, where they've either had tough losses or gone through some things that they've learned from. So I think putting it all together over the course of the season this year is what's going to kind of make us hopefully be better for going through that adversity and going through those negative experiences in the past, especially during a time where this is kind of when you're judged. The regular season's great, but playoff basketball is when you're judged on, how you perform as both individually and as a team.
I remember, I think 2 years ago during that series against Toronto, there was sort of this thought around the team, like, well, we're going to make sure that experience doesn't matter too much. That, yeah, we haven't been here before, but we're going to try to overcome that. I'm wondering now that you've been around the block a couple of times, if you reflect any differently on the importance of experience and having been there before in the playoffs.
I think it's kind of something that's going to be hypocritical no matter what, right? Like if you don't have experience, you're going to say you don't need it. And if you have experience, you're going to say, wow, I need it. So I think back then we did a pretty good job of, understanding we didn't have experience, and we got to a point where we were up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think where experience kind of would have come into play is when you lose a tough game 3, when you lose a tough game 4, it's still 2-2. Like, it's not like you're looking at you've lost 2 in a row, which we hadn't had done up to that point that season. It's got to be looked at as, it's 2-2 and we're coming home. And I think that's where experience would have come into play back then. And I think that's where now it'll come in, because it's a 7-game series. You don't win it by winning the first 2 games. You don't win it by winning the first 3 games. Like, you got to close teams out, and you got to make sure that you take it one game at a time. And as cliche as it sounds, each game is its own movie. So you got to make sure that, you're focused on that game and doing your best in that game. And win, lose, draw, you got to make sure that, you learn from it and you come out the next game understanding its own movie as well.
Thanks, Pat.
Jim Ozarski.
Hey, Pat, you guys have talked a lot about, offense will come naturally. It all starts with defense. However, with the change in offense and how much Brooke and Giannis talked about adjusting to that, and even Drew, his time off, like, when did it maybe click for you? When did the offense just naturally come, if you will?
I don't think it has naturally come yet. I think we show flashes, and I think we're doing it more consistently. But I mean, you look, obviously we had nothing to compare it to, but you look at that first game versus Miami, that was the toughest real game that we had versus them. And, we fought, and there were a lot of great things that came out of that game. I'd argue, looking back at it after playing games 2, 3, and 4, our offense wasn't as good as it needed to be. It was our defense that kept us in the game. It was the winning plays that kept us in the game. And I think that's where, we've really improved. I think last year in the bubble against Miami, everyone looked at our offense as letting us down, and to a degree it kind of did, but we made more of the winning plays. We made more of the defensive plays where no matter what our offense is doing, we were able to stay in that game, and we were able to come out on top in that game. So I think offensively for us, it's just about understanding, look, we're going to make shots, we're going to miss shots, but are we getting great shots every single time? Are we playing with each other? Are we playing fast? Are we getting out and running? Are we being the aggressor? Are we in attack mode? And I think that's when we're at our best.
Okay. I'm guessing that could be necessary. Like Brooke said, the intent is, of course, to play good defense and make things tough on Brooklyn. However, they can also fill it up. Mm-hmm. So if if you need to also match baskets or, go on a run late, is that kind of the key, I guess, maybe for you guys offensively, if maybe they are making the tough shots?
Yeah, I mean, we want to make them make tough shots for 48 minutes. But from an offensive standpoint, we want to make sure we're running right back at them and we're playing the way that we play. And Giannis and Drew and Chris, they're all in attack mode. And everyone else is ready to kind of fill their spots, fill their positions, shoot the ball with confidence, drive the ball with confidence if they're trying to run us off the three-point line. And making sure that we're making the next play for our teammate, I think, is really what, when we're playing well, that's when, you see it, and that's when it gets kind of scary.
Thank you.
David Aldridge.
Hey, Pat, you have been in the postseason, I think, every year of your career in the pro. And you had mentioned something a minute ago about understanding the stakes and the bright lights of being in the postseason. How do you bring the focus that you need to beat a good team in the playoffs while also understanding everybody's watching, and that tends to make people tighten up and tends to make people not play at their best or play loose?
Yeah, great question. I think that's where experience, from what I've seen, has come into play more than anything. Because, at the end of the day, think about the old adage, I can make 100 out of 100 free throws sitting in an empty gym. But the second there's 17,000 fans in front of you and there's 2 minutes left in the game and you're down by one and it's the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, all of that is what makes it harder to shoot the same free throw that you shoot. So I think going through it and seeing it, being in Portland and seeing, we were down 2-0 to the Clippers my first year. CP3 and Blake got hurt. We came back and won 4-2. Next year we lost, to Golden State in the first round when Steph came back. The year after that, Drew Holiday swept us with the Pelicans. But it was more about trying to make sure, hey, I need to be mentally locked in on what my job is. I can't be focused on the surrounding things that go into what this game and what this series means. I got to make sure I can go to bed at night being like, hey, I was aggressive. I shot the shot the way I wanted to shoot. My shots weren't affected by the crowd. They weren't affected by understanding the time, score, and situation. And I think that's where experience comes in because, and this is just my personal opinion, when you look at the bubble last year, there wasn't that added pressure. When you look at it this year, there is that added pressure, and it's just all the atmosphere stuff that comes into play. So making sure that you can go to sleep at night, and not just shooting, but playing the defense you need. James Harden and KD and Kyrie make some tough shots, being able to close your eyes and be like, hey, I made them make some tough shots.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ryan Dunleavy with the New York Post.
And Pat, I just wanted to ask you about Brook Lopez. His numbers in that last series were up all across the board from the regular season. Is that just what you expect from a guy like him, a veteran? He's the oldest guy on the team at this point in the season, just to raise his game a little bit. What did you see from him in that series?
Yeah, similarly to the last question, Brook is the epitome of he's going to play the way that he plays, no matter if it's a regular season game or a postseason game. And it's just about him playing even more to his strengths. I make the joke, whenever he's in the paint and he's hitting those step back fadeaways from 12, 15 feet, I call him Brooklyn Brook because, that's what he was doing when he was, an all-star in Brooklyn. And I think for us, that's where, during the season we spread the floor and we spread the floor in, postseason as well. But Brook's really taking advantage of his size and his skill and his ability to have an impact on the game inside the three-point line as well as outside.
All right, one more to Christos in Greece.
Hey, Pat, if you look back in the season, what is the biggest improvement of your team on your defensive effort, and especially on the series against the Heat? What would you like to carry on and maintain in the games against the Nets?
We all have to just understand what the game plan is and how we're executing the game plan and have each other's backs. I think for us, understanding what each guy does, what they do well, it's the NBA. Guys are going to be able to do 2, 3, 4, and 5 things. Kyrie, James, KD, even Joe Harris. He's known as being a shooter, Joe is, but he can put it on the floor. He can make a layup. He can hit a step back too. But we want to make sure we understand what people's strengths are individually. KYP, we say, know your personnel. And and try to make sure that they're not doing their first and second. Try to make them do their third and fourth on a consistent basis with 4 other guys at your back. Understanding that for us, if, for example, in Miami series, we're trying to take away threes from Duncan Robinson, he might get biased once or twice. But Brook Lopez is back there. And if Brook Lopez steps up to help, someone's got to help him boxing out Bam Adebayo. And I think for us, understanding your personnel and then understanding what our team defensive game plan is, and all 5 of us being on the same page and being able to execute it is where we thrive on the defensive end when we're all at that point and at that mental focus.
Great, thank you, Pat.
Appreciate it, guys.
For you, kind of going into this series, obviously they have 3 great ISO scorers, but one of the ways that obviously you can help out is help defense. So how do you kind of try to balance that and not leaving shooters open and just kind of being as active as you always are when there is kind of so many guys that can be active for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's just obviously reading and having a feel, but more importantly than everything, just playing aggressively, and like I've said since I've been here, everyone having trust that the help's going to be there behind them so they can do their job 100%.
And then offensively, obviously we saw you get loose on the offensive glass in the last game. We joked about you being the tower behind the wall. Just how kind of important do you feel like your role is once again to kind of own the paint and be in there and make it physical, I guess?
Yeah. I'm just going to try to do more of the same. I just want to have carryover from the Miami series personally. And we all do as a team, and we just need to go out, be assertive, do what we do on the offensive end. We need to focus on ourselves and focus on our defense.
Hortensia Johnson.
Hi, Brooke. I was wondering what sort of impact, whether it's how you all play or just kind of just the overall, I guess, feel of the team, how much impact Portis and PJ Tucker have had from an attitude standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, they've been fantastic. They're definitely both gritty, tough players, not afraid to, kind of muck it up, really get into it. And that brings a great energy to our team. It's contagious on our team. And, it's something that's definitely benefited us during the season, but especially in this playoff run so far. And I think we'll just continue to see the benefits of that as we go further and further in the playoffs.
And PJ said that maybe you all are tired of hearing his voice. Is that true?
I'm personally not tired of it. He's a great communicator, both on and off the floor, and I don't know if I don't know if other people are tired of it, but he's saying the right things regardless. So he's doing the right thing. So that's what's important.
All right. Thanks, Brooke.
Malika Andrews.
Hey, Brooke, it's nice to see you. I'm wondering, when you guys are looking at this matchup, how much are you leaning on what you all did in the regular season when they didn't have all 3 of the big 3 on the floor? And how much is that like, well, we can't lean on that too much?
I mean, we're obviously watching film from those games and everything like that and learning what we can from those games. But, we also know that they weren't at full strength for any of those games. And they have 3 incredible all-world players on their team and a lot of good other players as well, too. So, whoever they put out there, it's going to be up to us to show up defensively, have the right focus, intent, attitude, all that stuff. So it's really just about focusing on us again.
Greg Matzik.
Hey, Brooke, good to see you. You look great.
Thank you, you too.
I appreciate that. So in May, the Nets lean pretty heavily on DeAndre Jordan in their starting lineup, but he has not played much at all since you saw him in May. It seems like they're going with Blake much more often. How are they different offensively and maybe even defensively with crunching the tape here? How are they different with utilizing Blake more so than DeAndre?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they both do different things very well. DeAndre, just look at him offensively because, it's where we're focused, defending them, guarding them. He's good. He would be setting screens and rolling a lot, being around the basket as a lob threat a lot more. Where Blake obviously can do those things. He can roll. He's going to crash offensive glass, stuff like that. But he'll pop, be on the perimeter, space much more as well. So it's definitely a different look, especially in terms of help defense, where I'll be helping from.
Ryan Dunleavy, New York Post.
Hey, Brooke, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Just wondering if you could look back for me, featurey angle here on your time you spent a decade as the face of the Nets. What those memories are like for you, and obviously you guys never got to win that playoff series there. If that's something that still eats at you at all, that your time there you never got to experience that with the Nets, either in Jersey or Brooklyn.
Yeah, I have great memories of my time with the Nets. And I look back on them fondly a lot. Definitely wish we could have been more successful in the playoffs, but we played with I played with a lot of great special players. Just going down the list, guys like VC, Kevin Garnett, Truth, D. Will, JoJo, and I could just keep going down. There's so many special people from teammate standpoint, coaching standpoint, organizational standpoint. I have very special memories of my time there.
So does that make this series any different for you, or is it just another series?
I mean, it will probably be different. I don't really know yet, obviously. I'm excited to go back and play in Brooklyn, play on that court again in Barclays. But, obviously, we're going to be pretty focused when tip-off comes.
Brian Mahoney, AP.
Brooke, I know you guys have some, terrific defenders, individual defenders, and a good team scheme, and they have a couple decent ones too. But when you look at the sort of the firepower on both sides, can either one of these teams really stop each other, or are we going to see a bunch of, 125, 120 kind of games?
Obviously, that's going to be an intention, but just watching film, especially the most recent two games we played against Brooklyn, they have guys out there who can make tough shots. We'd play great defense for 20 seconds, 24 seconds, or someone would play great individual defense, and KD or Kyrie would hit a tough shot. That's what they do. So it's not really about that so much. We're just trying to be focused on ourselves, continuing to play great defense. And, if they hit a tough, difficult shot, not let that deflate us, because you're not going to really stop them from scoring. That's what these guys do. These guys come out, score 20-something points a game or something like that. But we're going to make it as hard as possible. Try to limit the easy ones, limit free throws, so they don't get those in rhythm shots, those easy ones, and as much as possible. Every shot, if they make every shot they make is going to be a tough one.
David Aldridge.
Hey, Brooke. Was wondering how does continuity on a roster allow you to kind of absorb a new player in quicker, like a Drew, and maybe midseason like a PJ, where they can kind of come in and understand immediately what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah, continuity is so huge, and I'm definitely thankful that we've been able to have that the past 3 years, for my time here in Milwaukee, and it just, obviously we have so much experience now, 3 years to look back on what we've learned from where we've grown since we all started together. It absolutely makes a huge difference, when Drew comes in, we have to integrate him, or when Tuck came in, we had to integrate him. We definitely have a much quicker learning curve than if, everyone was starting from scratch, trying to learn their roles.
And how do you learn from failure as a team systemically to kind of get beyond a level to get to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look back on those experiences, they're tough in the moment, but they make you who you are, both as an individual and as a team. And you take those lessons, what you failed at as a player, as a team, you look back on them and improve in those areas and get better and learn from those.
Thank you.
All right, one more to Stephen Watson.
Hey, Brooke, hope you're doing well. Giannis was particularly loose the other day when dealing with the media. And I know that he has spoken a lot this year about how he has kind of changed his perspective and his mental side of how he approaches the game. And I'm just curious, as a teammate, how have you seen him take that next step mentally? And does he feel looser to you guys as well in the locker room, and perhaps how he's approaching basketball right now? And how important is that to you guys?
Yeah, it's great. It's great for the team because it definitely trickles down, and it's contagious, and everyone kind of starts feeling the same way. And I think it just comes down to comfort. It makes the team more comfortable, and you can tell that he's improved so much as a player year by year, and that's all due to the work he puts in on the court. And it's just obviously I think his confidence continuing to increase as well. He's always been a confident player, but when you put that work in and you have that preparation and you're all set to go and you know what you're going to do, you're able to be loose out there, be comfortable out there, be confident.
Brooke, he told us that he's watching a bunch of shows on Netflix. I seem to think you're a pop culture kind of savant.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever given him show recs? Like, has he taken any of those from you?
I haven't really given Giannis recs, honestly, but I've given TA a ton of movie recs, especially when we were going through the pandemic and during that long break. I told him I had a huge list I made up, and I kind of gave him a little list of, I'd been going through. So I was going through all the Star Trek series: Classic Trek, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Murder, She Wrote, Magnum PI, just a bunch of super random series. And then, all the movies I told you about before, like, what was I? Spartacus, Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, tons of old sci-fi ones, Forbidden Planet, stuff like that. So I gave him the recommendations. I gave him all the
But you don't know if they followed.
Exactly. Well, I was going to say we have to follow up, Eric. We'll follow up.
Okay, I got you.
All right, thanks, Brooke.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it.